Co-called. This is co-called. Well, welcome to Co-called, to another episode of Co-called. I'm here with quite a few beautiful people, one including my wife, who's
Hey everyone.
my co-host. So anyway, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty awesome. It was pretty great.
We ate a lot, and I still have a bit in me of Thanksgiving. So don't judge me,
not
please.
in the jacket here.
But we had a great weekend. Last episode, you were with us, and you heard our crazy Thanksgiving stories and funny stories.
Yes. We had a great time.
And thank you for all those that did send some of your funny stories into the channel. Honestly, they were pretty funny.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. But before we start and introduce our guest for today, I want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, share it if you like it, and if you don't, share it anyway. And then if you're listening on podcast, on any podcast platform, you can also share, like, and also subscribe, but rate us.
Yes.
Give us a rating. Let us know if we're doing okay. Maybe we suck, but that's okay. You don't have to leave any rating.
Keep that part to yourself.
But we are very excited because today we are in our studios here in downtown Orlando, and we're not in our usual spot. We actually went to Lab 1, which is a much bigger set, because we want to be a little more comfortable. And we brought in some guests straight from Detroit.
Detroit?
Flew them in. We didn't fly them in. They actually drove down. But we told them that they were going to be on the podcast today. So without any further ado, baby, do the honors.
Nathan and Christina Arceneaux are here in the house.
Hello, everybody.
Guys, we are so honored to have you here.
You know, I knew this moment was going to come.
Yeah.
You know, 12 years ago when we met.
I've known Nathan and Christina, for almost 11, 12 years.
2007, 8?
No. 8. 2008. You're right. 2008. And they were Carlos's best friends, and actually this lady right here is responsible in a lot of ways for this situation.
Oh yeah. Give me the credit.
A little matchmaking situation there. But also, if you heard last episode, she was also the friend that remained unnamed, who is now not. Who is now? So named.
I have a bone. I have a bone to pick
who is
with
now
you.
Named.
So last week we're talking about our engagement, and turns out a friend told her that she was going to get proposed.
No, I did not say she told me.
I did not tell her.
She hinted.
Get your nails done.
That's pretty much code for.
She hinted that
happening.
There may or may not be ring shopping happening.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Carlos. I completely forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
I will always hold it against you. But
my gosh.
Christina, you were one of the ones that I asked, hey, what ring does she want? Of course, I lived with Nathan and Christina when they were not newlyweds, but
basically.
Yeah.
Just to kind of a little backstory, me and Nathan have been best friends since we were in diapers. No, I'm kidding. We went to Bible college.
How are you going to call me out, bro?
In Bible college, we wore diapers. We were in Bible college together. We were roommates then, became really good friends, stayed really good friends, and just our friendship kept growing. And then we both moved to Orlando, and we were roommates here together. Then he got married. And then I moved in back with them. Yeah. And then we were together for years.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but it worked really well for us.
It
works really well.
It did. It was
I think
so
it was
fun.
me.
Oh, for sure.
It really was you. No, honestly though, like there's like certain people you can live with, you know what I mean? And there's certain people you can't. And you were just so fun. You're like our brother. You are our brother.
I'm the best.
You are the best. And Carlos cooked and he cleaned. He wasn't messy. I was like,
I'm
this
the
is
best
working
roommate
out.
to have. I paid
And
my
he's
rent
hilarious,
on time.
obviously.
Never caused any issues. There was no drama. On the contrary, the fun was right here. But
You were
anyway,
hilarious.
What happened to the no drama throughout the years?
We lived together for about 3.5 years.
Yeah, it was about that long.
And then they brought in Madame.
Yes.
Over
So I met Nathan
beautiful
and Christina
Catalina.
at church in the welcome room.
Yeah.
When I was
really?
a good old volunteer. Yeah, I met Christina in the welcome,
remember
like
that.
new welcome.
You were so
whatever.
quiet.
Yeah. And then we were like, we're going to be BFFs.
Yeah. We couldn't stop talking after we started.
Yeah. And then it was history from there. Yeah. The rest is history. But we're so excited.
And now we have a combined 5 children.
Yes.
Yes.
And a combined
2 dogs.
2 dogs.
23 years of marriage.
Yeah,
13, right?
We'll make 13 in May.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll make 10 in
That's
May.
true.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
When did you guys get married in May?
2009, May 8th.
Oh, May 8th.
Yeah.
Got you. We're May 26th.
Yeah.
So 23 years. And
2011,
2 dogs that are still alive.
They're still alive.
Thank
That
God.
are
One
still
almost
alive.
left us
They're
a few
holding
years
on.
back.
They're
but-
holding on.
But anyway, guys, really, thank you so much for being on this podcast with
Yeah.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Again, Nathan and Christina were some of the ones that were very non-supportive of Cold Called at the beginning. They really didn't like that we were starting a podcast
Roasted.
on marriage.
That is not true.
And they were like, "You a podcast on marriage? You've been married for 5 years?
That is not true.
Stop.
No. On the contrary, they've been very supportive of everything that we've done along the way. From
Big fans. We're big fans.
yes, and honestly, we love both of you, and we respect you, and we admire you.
Yes.
And the way you've lived your marriage so far in these almost 13 years really has spoken to us. Hence why you've been invited to Co-Called. Because if we didn't, you would not be here.
What really happened is their first guest they picked couldn't come through, so we were the backup plan.
They're
all the way
backup
from
of the
Detroit.
backups,
You're the backup all the way from Detroit. But no, welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, we love you guys too. And you guys are so inspiring. I tell you guys that all the time, but you guys are so inspiring and real, authentic, creative. I mean, you guys are like the real deal. You're legit in like every way. Not to be like cheesy or anything, but
well,
you guys are amazing. Amazing.
Don't forget humble.
And you don't lose it along the way. You haven't lost your like.
Yes, we are very humble.
Thank you. Well, tell us about, because we obviously we know so much.
And we can keep talking about and having a good time.
How amazing.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty.
So tell us, how did you meet? We want to know. Well, we know, but our audience doesn't. So tell us where you met, how you met, and how things blossomed into.
We have very different versions of this story.
Yeah, which version do you want?
The fake one.
The fake one.
I'll let her tell hers, because if I tell mine, she's going to tell me I'm wrong. So you go ahead.
I mean, they're pretty much the same. Okay, so how we met Carlos actually was at Christ for the Nations Institute in Dallas, Texas. And that's where I met Nathan in 2003.
The moment you'll never forget. Yeah.
The moment, oh my gosh. The moment I will never forget. So anyway, he really needed a job, and I worked for a security place at the time, and they were hiring. And so I got in the job.
She literally helped me not get kicked out of school.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't pay my bills. And I remember I prayed and I was like, God, I moved to freaking Dallas. I can't even get a job at McDonald's. Like, no one would hire me.
That's insane.
Did you apply at McDonald's?
I applied everywhere, bro. I applied everywhere. I was like, I didn't realize I was this big of a loser. Like, so I was sitting out by the pool, just like, they told me, if you don't have money, you can't come to class tomorrow.
Wow.
So I prayed, and lo and behold, she called me and said, hey, I heard you're looking for a job. I think they're hiring. I can get you an interview tomorrow.
I paid his bill too.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
My
I had
sugar
so much
mama.
extra money because I had 2 jobs and they were both paid really well. Like, I just got really blessed with good jobs in college.
This sugar
So I would
mama.
pay for people because a lot of people were struggling. So if I had extra money,
Aw,
I would just go if I heard somebody needed like $300 or something like
Yeah.
that to pay off their whatever.
No big deal. Just
Aw,
$300.
Look at you,
awesome.
little angel
Look.
investor.
Well, I mean,
Now, did you have any interest in him at the time? Did you do it with that, like, ooh, maybe if I pay, he'll
I mean,
ask me out?
okay, so I met him
Ooh.
at a job fair at CFNI in the gym. They had a big job fair, and a friend he grew up with, Taylor, Quintini. Hello, Taylor. If you're listening to this. I went in there to like just go say hi to her, and like we were just hanging out for a minute before I had to go to work. And Nathan happened to show up. It was his first semester, and she was like, "You've got to meet him. This is the guy I told you about. You guys will be like best friends." Like she would always tell me about Nathan, and I was like, okay, you did not tell me he was this handsome. Like I was like, hello.
Hey yo.
But he seemed a little
I get
stuck
it from
up.
my mom. I get it from my mom.
He seemed a little stuck up. So
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
we
No.
know those kinds.
yes, we do. Yeah. But so yeah, I did
I
think
was
he was really
focused,
cute.
not stuck up.
And but that's not why I got him the job. I don't know. I loved people helped me get my job. I worked at American Airlines Center, the arena, downtown. They helped me get that job when I first moved, and it just I don't know. I just really like helping people like get on their feet when they move to college.
Yeah.
I do love it. I don't know
You
why.
do
I
love
just-
helping
it's my
people.
thing.
It's your thing.
So
You also you love the underdog.
I do. I like to if I see.
Hence Nathan.
Wow.
But if you
This
see
feels
somebody,
like a roast session.
Yeah.
I don't even like
Is this
that,
why I
babe,
came
but
This
here
is
today?
supposed to be
Welcome
your
to
best
Co-Called.
friend.
no, but like you see something in somebody, you want to
Yeah.
help them,
Yeah.
figure it out.
Totally.
So anyway, got him the job. He worked there, so we kind of connected, would see each other and talk, and
But
became
strictly
friends.
just friends. Okay.
Just friends, yeah.
Hang out and vibe.
And then we did, yeah. And then we did youth camp together. We were both counselors at a youth camp. So we got to hang out and get to know each other even more. He took me out on a couple of dates.
Oh, here we go.
Led me on.
Oh, wow.
This is where it gets a little
Because
testy.
I was gonna say,
This
my
is-
understanding is that you guys weren't together at CFNI.
We were not.
We weren't
were
together, but he took me on a couple dates.
All right, let's
Paid for
clarify
everything.
this.
Paid for everything.
That's called a
Picked me
date.
up.
That's called a date. Yeah.
Asked me, picked me up, paid for everything, but
We
it wasn't
went-
a date.
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of world was this man
We're
living in?
gonna set up a poll. We're gonna set up a poll in our stories. If you think this was a date or not.
Oh, yes.
It sounds like
Details
Nathan paid
are
everything. Nathan paid
Yes.
for everything. Is that a date? Yes or no?
So
All right.
again, details. He picked her up, paid for everything.
It was just
Kissed her
us.
at the end of the day.
And it was just them. Okay.
Oh, he kissed you at the end of the day. Ooh, this just got juicy.
He did not. No.
Lies. All right, let me clarify because my reputation is at stake here. So we went to a Switchfoot concert together.
Okay.
I think this was like the second one we went to, and it wasn't even a date. It was like we both wanted to go. I don't even remember paying for your ticket. Maybe I did. I don't know. But I didn't think it was a date because afterwards I was like, I'm really hungry. You want to get some food? We went through a Wendy's drive-through.
Which
All
I
right.
was like,
I would never take a
Cheapo.
girl.
I was like, what the frick?
I would never take a girl on a first date and take them to Wendy's, like ever. And so I was at this point in my life where I was like, okay, I can just be friends with girls. Like I was naive about it. I didn't think it was a big deal. So I just was like, we're just friends. We're just vibing. We're just hanging out. No big deal. Because I was still hung up on my high school girlfriend. Like she dumped me right before I went to college. So I was like, we're going to get married one day. So any girl that came by was like, no, I can't. I'm already taken, like just like a dumb 18-year-old. So when me and Christina hung out, I thought she was attractive, but I was already committed. So
He was already going to get married.
At his tender age.
He was married in his mind.
clearly I was wrong.
So anyway, let's move along with the story. I
let's
feel like
move
we're
on.
taking forever to talk.
Yeah.
So we went on a couple dates.
Yes.
Anyway, we did a youth camp together. We were counselors there helping teenagers. It was a fun youth camp. And then he kind of just shut me out completely and stopped calling, stopped texting, just shut me out. I ghosted
caught
onto the vibe.
Is there a reason?
Yeah, because
He was clearly committed.
I was already in a serious relationship. I was the only one that was in the relationship.
Carlos's face looks like you are such a fool.
She was
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know this part.
Yeah. I was literally an idiot. She was dating other people at this point, but I was still holding on to hope that not you.
Oh, okay. I was like,
my high school girlfriend. So I was holding on to hope we'd get back
okay.
together.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
I realized, oh man, we're starting to like each other. I can't do this. I'm already getting married to someone else like an idiot. So I definitely ghosted her. for
Because you were
sure.
18, of course.
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
getting
you
married
know,
to
I knew
somebody else
everything at
already.
that
You
point
knew
in my life.
So anyway, I ended up dating somebody else for 2-3 years, and then that didn't work. And then Bernie needed a worship leader or worship pastor for his church plant. And that's one of our mutual friends. And Nathan suggested me. And
that was here in Orlando.
That was here in Orlando.
Yeah.
So I was graduating college and moved to Orlando right after that to take this worship pastor position, worship director. And then Nathan moved there. He followed me there. I know that he followed me there. We will argue about this again too. But they needed a young adults pastor and a youth pastor at the church plant. So Nathan took the job. I was already there.
Yes.
And then he moved there. This church plant had
didn't-
been going
So
on
it
already.
sounds like you got there first.
I got there
She did.
first.
Then Nathan. Okay.
And then Nathan.
It didn't hurt
2
that
months
she was
later.
there.
Yes.
2 or 3 months later. Anyway, so we were like working together and in the same city, and like we were already friends in college, so we like knew each other. So we were hanging out all the time, and the sparks just from there it kind of just like took off. And
At Disney, actually.
yeah.
Disney, I'll tell you.
The
Disney's
magic
got
is
the magic.
real. The magic is real. So if you're single and you're trying to date somebody, just take them to Disney World. I'll tell you. It does
Well,
a trick every
listen,
time.
it
That's
worked for
right.
us
Oh my-
because you guys, your brother was in town, and
You're
you're like, we should
right.
all go to Disney.
I totally
And that
forgot
was the
about that.
first time that Carlos and I
Yes.
really,
your
really
sparks
hung
started-
out. Oh my
Yep.
goodness, there were sparks.
Oh man,
This guy would jump through people like, I gotta get, just so we could like sit in the same.
area.
You were
Like
so
little-
nervous, Carlos. It was great.
Oh
Nathan,
man, but
please tell me.
I loved it. Like I was like, oh man. But
He
I was because I was like, oh, I don't know if I want this or
Yeah.
you know,
Whatever. He was trying to get close to her, like, where's Carolina? Like, watching her like a hawk the whole time. Like, calm down, bro. You're going to freak her out, man. All right?
But,
Be cool. Be cool.
but anyway, so you moved to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Sparks fly.
Sparks fly again.
Again.
So when do you move here?
He's already here.
So you're no.
Yeah, that's what
we both moved in 2007. So she moved in January. I moved in April. And honestly,
Because that's the year I moved here too.
Yeah.
And when did you move to Orlando?
2006.
Dang, beat us to it. So okay, so then boom, what happens next?
So we started dating.
I think like a month after I moved there, I told Bernie, our pastor, I was like, I want to date Christina. And so we just kind of like talked for a while. You know, we didn't have the define the relationship talk. We were just kind of hanging out. And then I took her out, I think it was at the beginning of May, and was like, hey, I really like you. I want to date. But she had just gotten out of a really bad relationship. And so she said, I'm not ready. I like you too, but I'm not ready.
Yeah.
So like a good guy, I waited for, I think 3 months. And our first date was in July. I took her out. I did it right. I took her to Houston's and got her flowers. And I'm no scrub. All right. I know.
He made up for the Wendy's date.
I was going to say.
So I will say this for listeners out there. He did, he wanted to start dating in May. I had just gotten out of a relationship that was just, I mean, obviously we weren't right for each other. It was unhealthy. So I needed time. So I took 3 months just to kind of process, decompress, get healed up, and just like needed space and needed time on my own. And I think that's so important when you're coming out of like something that didn't work out, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
To not jump into another relationship so soon. I can't like stress that enough, how good that was for me.
Yeah.
For me personally, like, and to be able to be healthy for my next relationship. You know what I mean? And be more on my 2 feet and not so in my emotions, still processing while I'm trying to get to know somebody new.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so great. So I just encourage everybody, like, if you need time, then like say, I need time.
Take the
and
time.
if the person will wait for you, then you know even more like, this might be a great person to date. This might be it. You know what I mean?
That's great.
It's so
that's
funny
great.
that you say that because so many marriages nowadays, especially in our society, they end up in divorce because they jump the gun.
Yeah.
They're not ready. They think that they're ready and really they're not.
Yeah.
When that was happening and she asked you for some space, were you fine with that?
I mean, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't the best thing in the world because at that point I had been single for probably 3 years. So I was ready to get into a relationship. But I knew pretty quickly, like, I think I'm going to marry this girl. So it was definitely worth waiting in that sense. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I counted down the days, like I was looking at that calendar every day and so excited for that date. But I also knew she needed time because I didn't want to get into a relationship and her back out because she had stuff she needed to deal with. So it wasn't fun, but we waited.
Were there other prospects during that waiting period that came about that you guys were like, oh?
Funny enough, the day we talked that I told her, hey, I'm into you, her ex-boyfriend messaged her on Facebook.
Literally the same day. That was
and was
crazy.
Like, I want you back. I'm going to move to Orlando.
No.
Yes. So I wasn't this like, I have to like make this choice. You know what I mean? But I mean, I was done with that.
Choice.
And I really
what choice
Nathan.
Was there? Let's be.
I agree.
Well, as a girl, like you finally hear the words you've been waiting to hear.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been like waiting to hear from this guy, But it was just over.
Who did you pick again? Who did you? Okay.
Because I really liked Nathan.
The father of my
and that was over. Like, so anyway.
Yeah.
But there was a moment of, oh my goodness. Like, because it was out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. It was the same day. I was like, whoa, and you're still a little bit emoally attached to the last person. That's why you need, I believe, space.
How long were you with him?
To detach. I don't know. 2.5.
2.5 years.
Almost 3 years. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it was on and off. It was one of those on and off things. So it was just unhealthy.
Toxic.
So very like so emotionally like, you need space sometimes,
Yeah.
And I will say when me and Nathan first started dating, I probably should have taken a little bit more time actually than 3 months, a little bit longer. Because I actually tried to push Nathan away subconsciously because I guess I wasn't ready. I had trust issues, but it worked out because Nathan was like solid. He dealt with me. He was patient. But anyway, that space,
awesome.
that space is important to just have to yourself.
Man, so good.
So so you guys date, obviously get married. I met you around that time. Carlos and I get married. You guys move away, and then talk to me a little bit about, moving away and kind of having your sweet twin baby girls.
You totally jumped so far in. We didn't even get to marriage and engagement here in the story.
Well, I just know there's so much that we want to talk about.
I know we have a lot of time, but just quickly, did you, when you were going to propose or when engagement was happening, were you guys on good terms? Like, were you waiting to like, hey, you need to propose soon? Or?
Yeah,
that's funny. We actually went out. We had probably been not married. We had been dating about a year and like 3 months. And I had the ring at this point. I probably had that ring for about 5 months because, you got to get it right. You have to tell everyone this story. I wanted to make sure everything was planned perfectly. And so I wasn't ready. What? I had called her dad. Everything was set up. I just needed the right moment. So I remember one time we went out on this date and it was like a nice date. We had a good time. And she was mad at me. And I was like, why are you so mad? Like, I took you out, had a nice dinner, like we had a nice time. And she's just like, just bring me home. I'm like, what the heck? Like,
wait, and this is when you were going to propose?
No.
Okay.
This is a few months before I proposed. And so she just gets out of the car, slams the door, goes inside, doesn't talk to me, like won't return my phone calls.
Drama.
So I'm like, what the heck happened? We had a nice night. Like, what's going on?
It might not have been up to that level.
It was pretty great.
I'm sure it was.
Pretty great. So anyway, she calls me the next day and she says, hey, just so you know, the reason I was really upset is because I thought you were going to propose last night and you didn't. And I was like, calm down, woman. It's coming. All right. It's coming. Just wait. It's going to be perfect. So yeah, I proposed to her a few months later. Oh man, I'll tell you, I'll give you some advice on that. If you are thinking about proposing, if you are nervous at all, which you will be as a guy, do not drive in the car alone with them for 2 hours because it'll be the most awkward car ride of your life. She asked me 20 times, what is wrong with you? I was like profusely sweating.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't talking. I was probably like shaking the whole time we're in the car. And she almost got mad at me. We almost got in a fight because she's like, why are you acting like this? I can't say, well, I'm about to propose to you. So I just ended up being this really awkward weirdo the whole drive there. But it worked out, kind of. my voice cracked. I was like a pubescent boy
so
again.
Really?
He put the ring on the wrong finger.
Oh.
It was so cute.
It was not so smooth at all. I said, "Will you marry me?"
It was at the beach.
Well, I remember because I was there.
You were?
Pictures.
Oh my gosh. And I have a funny story. Yes.
I was hiding in bushes. A lot of us were there. You had like a group of 10 or 12.
A lot of us were there.
And it was at the beach. We set it all up.
I wasn't there, okay?
I wish
Carolina wasn't a part of our lives
I
yet.
know.
That would have been great if you were there.
You were there in spirit.
I was.
So, but we set it all up, and then they proposed, and I remember that.
Yeah. So this is really funny. So later on, we're watching the video because Carlos took video of Nathan proposing to me. He hid in the weeds, like, like at the beach, how they have those like tall, like, I don't know what you call them, like the weeds. So they're all hiding in there, and Carlos has a camera and he's videoing the whole thing. So we're like watching this later on, like, I don't know, what was it, a few days later, a week later?
No,
whatever.
that night.
Oh, was it that night?
Yeah, we watched it that night.
Anyway, it is hilarious, you guys. So you can hear Carlos. Oh my God, guys. I'm so nervous. Do you see? Oh, is he doing it? Oh my gosh. Oh
It's
my gosh.
happening.
And then all of a sudden, he falls over in the weeds. It is the best. He's like, ah! And you hear him just
You see the
clunk.
camera.
Yeah, you see the camera just like fall and rolling.
I was like, hope they didn't see
Oh
me.
my gosh. Like, my favorite was Nathan proposing to me, but definitely right close to it next was watching that video of Carlos like freaking out and falling over. It was
Basically, the
hilarious.
story of our relationship is Carlos as well. Like, it's us two and Carlos together.
Yes.
I was a
Carlos.
third wheel for the longest
Oh,
time.
You
were,
were.
bro.
It was so fun.
You were a good third
Until I
wheel.
got married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
and
were a
then
good
we
tricycle.
all hung out all the time.
I
It
know.
was fun.
No, it was so fun. And it's been a privilege to be a part of your guys' story.
Yeah.
But so you get engaged, you get married pretty soon right after engagement, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm all on those short engagements.
Did you get married in the same place you proposed? Same beach?
No.
No?
Mm.
Different one?
Yeah.
I can't remember what
We-
beach you
I
proposed.
All I
proposed to you at-
remember is at your wedding, we were standing where the hotel, the ceremony was.
Yeah.
We were standing in the heat of the
Yeah.
sun.
I was
and
an
we
idiot.
were roasting. Everyone else was fine because they were in the shade.
Right.
But we were standing
Oh
like
my
right where the
gosh.
sun and
And
the
you guys had
pastor Bernie,
tux
remember?
on.
He was like
He
drenched
looked like
in
he
Yes.
jumped.
sweat.
He looked like he jumped into a pool and then just did the ceremony. Like,
Yeah.
literally, that's what. I don't know why I had us wearing black suits in 100-degree weather in Florida. It
Yeah.
was miserable.
But you
It's
you
good
guys
times.
get married.
Yep.
Tell us, was marriage easy?
The first year probably was our hardest, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
I would say the first year was our hardest.
What would you say
Fun,
to
but it
those
was hard.
couples that are about to get married or about to get engaged or are just recently married? What advice would you give them since they're newlyweds and starting out?
Okay.
No, you go.
I'll say I don't think you realize how selfish you are
Mm.
until you marry someone else and you have to live in the house with them and
Yeah.
think about and consider another person, because when you're single, you do what you want when you want to. And so there was just a lot of little things, like who's going to make the bed or who's going to cook dinner, or just things you kind of take for granted, or even just learning how to communicate. So I think that was one of the things that I learned, is how to put my needs and preferences and wants aside and actually consider her before myself. I am maybe not the most selfless person. And so that's definitely something that I had to learn. Yeah, I've gotten a little bit better. Kids help. But I think that was something that I had to learn and adjust to really serve and care for her as a wife and not just do what I wanted when I wanted.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Mrs.?
I would say similar to that, like just learning or recognizing that you're sharing the bathroom, you're sharing the kitchen,
Right.
you're sharing everything. You know what I mean? And just like having patience and knowing like, okay, I just need to get into the groove of
Mhm.
this new season, like
Yeah.
this new like
Right.
life basically, like, and give yourself time and grace, give the other person grace, like, because you guys are figuring it out, and like just know you're going to be frustrated with each other, and that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're not right for each other,
Mhm.
because
That's
then you
good.
deal with those weird thoughts of like, oh my gosh, is this like,
Did I do the right thing?
yeah, or like, am I a terrible like wife, or just like whatever, you know what I mean, like, because it's just not as perfect as you thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean, am I
Yeah.
failing, or like, did I do the right thing? Like, so just knowing that that's normal and like have grace on each other, yourself and the other person, knowing that that's like totally, you can't escape that. Like everybody has to get used to that when they get married.
Yeah.
So
that's so good. Especially now, like any little thing gets hard and it's like, oh, we must not be right for each other, you know, and understanding that, that's totally
especially
normal. That's
culture of feelings. Like everything's like what you feel, you know? So it's like, just like getting through that and past those like mentalities or like culture or whatever. Yeah. And just like saying, I'm going to just be patient and put the work in, because if you want it to last, it can't just always be based off of what you feel in the moment. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like, nothing would last.
So good. Yeah, that's so good. That's so true.
I would say another thing too is that when you're dating, you're always going out and doing fun things and like, you're just always doing fun things. They're like highlights, you know what I mean? Of your life. And when you're married, it's like, especially if you work from home or something like that, it's like just learning. You're learning more and more about the other person, and they're learning about you. So like, it's not always going to be fun and games. You have to get used to like the normal life stuff too. Like, oh, they need time to do work. Like, don't get like upset or insecure, or you know what I mean?
Doesn't love me anymore.
Exactly, you know. And I will admit, I was a little bit like that.
just a little bit.
I was like, you love me? You're not giving me enough attention, you know, like. But I don't know. Did I explain that well?
Yes, totally.
Does that make sense? Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
You're kind of talking about managing expectations, right?
Yeah.
You know, because I think you go into a dating relationship and it's almost like the highlight reel. You know, like it's all these curated moments. Everything's perfect. You put a lot of planning into it. And then life happens. You know, the longer you're married, the more it's good that you're more comfortable and you're more yourself. And you don't feel like you always have to put on this appearance or image. But I think it's sometimes like culture has painted this picture of what marriage is. We show, if you watch the romantic comedy, you know, it's all about the highlights of the falling in love, and it ends on the marriage, on the wedding day, and then they don't show you anything after that. Right. So you get this impression that that's what a relationship is.
The happily ever after isn't marriage.
Yeah.
It's life after. No, and the reason I ask, because again, so many people go into marriage with the expectation of, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. But even with us, we shared how it was different. And with the story of us, or quite a long episodes ago, I shared that when I got home from work, the first day of marriage, of coming back from honeymoon, I was expecting Carolina to be dressed in an apron with cookies on the right hand and guiding me to the bedroom on the left hand. And literally, it was not that. I arrived, she was scrambling to make dinner. I was like, where the heck have you been? And I was very upset. But again, it was the expectations of reality versus, what's it? Instagram versus reality.
Yeah. For real.
So anyway, so you've been married a while. So let's now jump to where you wanted to go.
Yeah. I just, I know we've laughed so much and we've shared all these funny stories, but I also know that you guys have been through some pretty big things and through some really tough things, and there are things that I believe ultimately have strengthened your marriage and brought you closer together. But if you could share just some of the things that you've been through, because I know one thing you guys have done well is gone through hardship well. And it sounds like, oh, this thing we've done well, but it's come with a lot of pain, and it's come with a cost to you. And so, it would be an honor to just hear you share some of those experiences.
Yeah.
You want to share about the girls?
Yeah. So, we got pregnant, and I got pregnant in, when was that? 2013. And with twin girls.
They're so cute, you guys. They're gorgeous. Gorgeous girls.
Definitely didn't plan on having twins on our first shot, I'll tell you that.
Well, I remember
of course, overachiever over here. It's the curse. The curse kept going.
I remember you saying like you're pregnant. We're like, oh my God.
Yes.
Because you were, I think, one of the first ones to get pregnant kind of from our friends. Like
friend group. Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. And then you calling a couple weeks later like, there's 2.
Oh, wow.
Okay, brace yourself. No, I remember when we found out Nathan like didn't speak for like 2 or 3
I was
hours.
in shock.
He was in shock, like legit shock, like actually did not speak. Like sat there and looked at the wall and was like, "What?" Like, and then I'm over there like bawling my eyes out because I'm so happy. I always wanted twins, and I just never thought like you know, it's one of those things where you're like, "Oh, that would be so fun and so cool," like. But you never really think it's going to happen, you know, like, you know, so I was just like so excited. I mean, I was planning outfits. Aww. I was, you know, they got a match. This is going to be cute. This is going to be awesome. You know, I was just so excited calling everybody. And Nathan was hilarious. He took a little while to.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was really funny. It was a great time. We actually had a couple, they were pregnant with twins at the same time. Aww. And the guy, they found out a day before us or a day after us?
A day before.
And that guy reacted the same way too. They worked together too.
Well, the nurse said funny. That the wife actually was crying in the room when they found the Harper twins, but very different crying than Christina. like
what am I going to do?
How did this happen?
But anyway, it was pretty funny and cool. Like they found out within a day and they were both
awesome.
Like reacted the same way. It was so great. We made fun of them for a long time about that. But anyway, yeah, the twins. So they were born at 30 weeks.
Wow.
They were born a couple months early, and they were in the NICU for 2 months. And we had a couple close calls with them not making it, like Harper once and then Brooklyn once.
Yeah, I remember the night they were born, the doctor came into our room. I mean, we're exhausted. So we rushed Christina to the hospital on a Friday, and she was on bed rest for 2 days because they were trying to delay the delivery as long as possible.
And giving me a certain medicine for their lungs to develop more.
Right.
They needed that. That was like really important.
Like it was like best case, worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And they were born. And I remember when Brooklyn came out, she came out first. She was like very, very dark red. And she wasn't really moving. And so they rushed her out of the room and did an emergency procedure on her. Basically what happened was they had something called twin-to-twin transfusion where Brooklyn was stealing all of Harper's food and blood. So she was twice the size as Harper. So they were both having serious issues.
Right. And
so they did that.
And her heart was having a hard time handling all the blood.
Her blood was too thick,
that,
so her body was having trouble pumping it. So they did an emergency procedure, was supposed to help, but then in the middle of the night, I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, they woke up. The doctor came in and said, I have to do an emergency procedure on Brooklyn right now. You need to sign this paperwork.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't tell us anything. He just said, I have to do this, sign this, and he ran out of the room. And I remember I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, what is going on right now? Like that just overwhelming sense of fear. What is going to happen to my kids? Wow. Like, are they going to be okay? I mean, it was kind of, doctors usually come into the room and kind of comfort you. There was no comfort. It was like, this is very serious. We have to do something now.
They were like, ma'am, can you sign this paper? Can you sign this paper?
And I just can't imagine, like, you just gave birth.
Yeah.
Like, you're exhausted. You're, you know, and you're not getting, you just went through all the trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not get any of the reward of that.
Yeah, we couldn't hold them.
You couldn't hold them. You couldn't. You didn't even. They weren't even in your room. Like, I just can't imagine as a new mom too, as a first-time mom, like, just all those emotions kind of meeting.
You know what? I actually like look back at that and I'm like, what in the world? Because I was like in, you know, fight or flight. Like I was like, I went into cruise control because I was so. My focus was keep them alive, keep them alive, keep them alive.
Right.
So it was like I wasn't even having those emotions, like being upset or sad, because it was just like, keep them alive. It was survival mode. That's what it was. It was survival mode. And then after they got out of the NICU, it came down to that, but that's another story.
It was a really hard, it was like 2.5 months, I think, because Harper had to stay a little bit longer. So Christina was living in Texas, in Lubbock, and I was working in New Mexico. So it was an hour and a half away. So she lived there. Because she would stay at the hospital and just be with the girls. And I would go home and work. And on my days off, I would drive up, stay the night, and then leave the following morning. So I saw her twice a week. I saw the girls twice a week. And we did that for almost 3 months.
Wow.
And I remember there was a few times I was in New Mexico working, and she would call me and say, hey, Harper's not eating. And when a kid's 2 pounds, if they don't eat, it's really bad because they're always on the brink of death. I mean, it's that serious. And I remember there's a few times where I just went outside. I think one time was at Applebee's. And I just went outside and I started praying. I was like, God, you promised us these kids. You promised to keep them alive. You need to come through. And there were just so many moments like that. God always came through. Things always turned around. But it was definitely one of those moments where it was like we had no control. The worst thing as a parent, if you've ever had kids go through something serious in their, in their body, it's the worst feeling because you can't do anything to fix it. You're not a doctor. You can't change it. And so there's 2 things that happen. First is you really rely on what you believe. The foundation of who you are kicks in. And I think the second thing, it really allows you to be a team. Like we worked so well together in that season. It was a lot of like calling each other. How are you doing? What do you need? Let's pray for each other, encouraging each other, building each other up, like looking for opportunities to kind of help carry that weight together because there was no way we could do it alone. It was her literally all day at the hospital, just holding the girls on her chest and just praying over them. When I would come, I would pray over them. And we saw miracles, but it was definitely not an easy process. And I think, you said from the outside, you guys handle these things so well. It didn't feel like it. Yeah. Like it felt like we were struggling and surviving moment by moment. But I think what happens is who you are internally kicks in those moments, and you learn to fight for what matters, which is your family, your marriage, your kids, and you just push through. You get through it. And we're on the other side of that now, but it was a really rough 3 months.
Yeah. So pausing on that, we actually have a surprise. The girls are here in the studio.
They are.
Can we call them in?
Sure.
Yeah, call them in. Let's see if they can come out.
Okay.
You gonna go get them?
Brooklyn and Harper, can you come here?
Come on, girls. Sit right next to mommy right here.
Come here.
Come on. So they're a bit shy, but they're beautiful.
Just give them a minute.
Put your leg
miracle. Walking miracles.
So who is who? Because I still can't.
This is Brooke, and that's Harper.
Do
you guys say hi?
Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Say hello.
How old are you guys?
7.
And who's the biggest one?
Ooh, that's a fight in the house right now.
Who's older? Brooklyn.
By how much?
32 seconds.
32 seconds. If it weren't for those 32 seconds. But honestly, I see them now, and it's like, you see them now.
We do.
From those 4 and 2 pounder little things.
Know, it's wild.
You could hold them in a hand, right? They were that small.
Harper's whole hand could fit around the end of my pinky finger.
Oh, wow.
That's how small she was.
Yeah, she was
crazy.
when I put her on my chest, she was like,
oh
gosh, tiny.
And now they're beautiful, healthy little girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we just wanted to show who they are because they were here, and just so you guys could see that prayer and miracles obviously happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
We interrupted their Netflix show, so you guys can go back. You want to say something before you go? No.
All right, thanks, Uncle Carlos, for putting us on the spot.
No, and it's funny because it's like now that we're parents, you never when you have to take your kid to the hospital for any reason, like it's just the worst feeling.
Yeah,
it's like, and you guys, freshly parents in the hospital in the NICU for months. So what happened? When did you get to take them home?
Well, can I say one thing about being
for sure.
Yes, please.
So I was talking about survival mode earlier.
Yeah.
Because as like a new mom, like, you want to hold your baby and like you're so excited about that moment, and then it doesn't happen. But I was in survival mode, just trying to make sure they were going to stay okay and alive, But I will say that there were breakdowns. Like, where I'd have to like go to the restroom, like, because I wanted to be alone,
Yeah.
I'm not a big crier in front of people.
Yeah.
But there were breakdowns, and I noticed that I needed to lean on people.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anybody listening that's like going through something like that, like, as much as you like to deal with stuff on your own and you're independent or you're a private person, if you're going through something like that or something like that's really hard and you have no control over it and you just have to watch and wait and pray and hope, it's okay to lean on other people. Like it's good to. Yeah. And you need to break down and not keep it all in, because I would get to the moments where I would feel like I'm going to lose it, like in like almost like have anxiety attacks and panic. You've got to get it out. You've got to lean on people. If people are trying to like, hey, let me come and take you out to eat to get you out of the hospital, it is okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. You got to take care of yourself too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's important.
Just being real, like, you know what I mean? Right. You've got to get messy sometimes, and it's okay if it's with another person. And
well, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, they got out 2 months. I think that was your question.
Yeah.
2 months later, and that was a doozy because they're on like all these machines, and you can see their oxygen, you can see their heart rate, you can see and they beep if like things are not good. And, you know, when you take them home, they don't have that anymore. Yeah. So for me, I don't know if Nathan, I can't remember, but for me as a mom, that was very hard.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
Yeah. So.
And they didn't like to sleep. So they got woken up every 2 hours in the hospital to eat because they were so small.
So they were used to that.
So they woke up every 2 hours. I remember there were some times where Christina would just look at me and be like, what did you do to me? Screaming at the top of her lungs, like, take care of these kids.
No,
I'm going to kill you.
I mean, and then it's two of them. So it's not like,
they would wake each other up.
We put them down. They'd wake each other up. Or like by the time you're done, like feeding one, changing diapers, putting her down, the other one's up. Like, how do you?
I was a pro at changing diapers. I mean, I could do those things in probably 15 seconds.
When he did them. No, he did help a lot. Well, I have a really good friend that had a set of twins actually a year before we had ours. So she told me she would like kind of give me like hints on how to survive this twin life the first year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So she was like, yo, you've got to, if one wakes up, you've got to wake up the other one. You got to keep them on the same exact schedule. So that really helped a lot instead of just like waiting for the other one to wake up. And like, we would never sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you guys have twins out there, anybody, keep them on the same schedule while they're newborns, feed them at the same time. Like,
side note.
Yeah, side note. But it was really cool though, because I would say that put us into like super gear. I don't know, that sounds so cheesy. But I can't think of the word, but like we really had to work together. We really had to lean on each other and become selfless even more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're just exhausted. I mean, you guys know how it is.
Yeah.
You're just exhausted and you're in survival still for yourself. But so we really, that taught us to work together even more so, and to lean on each other and to have grace with each other. You know, so going through the NICU thing, we really we bonded a lot then. And then, you know, the first year raising twins when you're exhausted all the time.
And you guys were away from family and
we were alone. We were pretty much alone. Yeah. I think something happens when, as a couple, instead of fighting with each other, you fight alongside each other. Something changes in your marriage.
That's so good.
When you're side by side, right? Instead of fighting with each other, fight alongside of each other. Yeah. And when you're facing the same challenge and you know they're right next to you, fighting it with you, it changes something in your relationship. So do I wish we had to go through that stuff? No, of course I would not pick it. But I think our marriage is stronger today because I've heard a lot of stories about couples who in the middle of like trouble actually turn towards each other and creates the other person as the enemy because they don't know how to handle all the stress and anxiety and fear that they're feeling. But we made a choice, like, we're going to battle this together. Right. Yeah. We're going to stand side by side and we're going to face whatever comes and we're going to make it through. And I think that made the difference for us is we didn't see each other as the enemy. And there was definitely moments where we lost our cool. We were tired. We were frustrated. We were overwhelmed. We were scared. But we prayed together and we talked it through. And I recognized there was moments where she needed my support. And I said, why don't you stay back at the house? I'll go to the hospital and be with the girls. And so we really tried to share those burdens together, which I think really helped us feel like I'm not in this alone. Because I think when you go through troubles in life, there is this feeling of loneliness, like no one understands what I'm going through. You're carrying this 1,000-pound weight on your back. But I think something changes when you feel like there's someone else in the fight with me. I'm not alone. Even if they're not fighting in this moment, they're just as invested in us winning as I am. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So don't overlook those moments in your marriage when you have to fight, because it's actually an opportunity for you to get closer together as a couple.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's so good. That's so true.
And I would say, like, even to people that are dating and looking, you know, to find somebody to get married to, spend the rest of their life with, like, that you really look for qualities where the person is trustworthy, where the work ethic is good, where you guys agree on a lot of things spiritually or morally or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
Where you know you guys are best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge before marriage. If you can do that, I suggest it to everybody.
Yeah.
Because then you know each other really well. You're best friends. If hard times come, like, you've already known how to depend on each other so well.
So true.
You know what I mean? Like, and best friends become best friends because they have confrontation.
Yeah.
Because they see the bad and the good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and still choose each other.
And still choose each other. So, like, when you're dating or looking for somebody, like, looking for those things that are long lasting, looking beyond how they look. I mean, that's important for you to be attracted to them, but like beyond.
Yes, it is. It's very important.
You know, like,
and I hit the jackpot.
That they're not,
but
that they, like, look out for other people. They look out for you. They're not selfish. They're not just self-involved, only taking from you and taking from others. Yeah. But really looking for a solid person, because things will happen in your marriage. Yeah. Things will get hard. Things come up, you know, and you don't want to get stuck in that alone, or get stuck in that saying, I don't even know who you were. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But not in, like, a good way. You know what I mean? Like, and there's things you find out of each other that aren't perfect, but I'm talking about like legit, like, actual character things when you hit trouble times, you know?
Well, I think you discover a lot about each other as a couple when everything's not just face-to-face. I've heard it said you need both face-to-face time, which means you're spending time getting to know each other. You're going on dates, you're looking in each other's eyes, feeling all the vibes. And that's an important part of a marriage, right? That intimacy piece. But I think the other piece that a lot of people neglect is serving alongside of each other. Yeah. Right? Like, working together towards a common goal. Some things will come out in you when you're in the grind, in the hustle, striving, working towards something. And actually, you see a different side of that person, for the good or the bad, when they're under pressure, under stress. What do they do when everything's coming against them? How do they handle that? And we got a really good experience working in a church together as a church plant. Yeah. We spent 1.5 years working alongside of each other, fighting to get this church off the ground. And so there's a lot of things I saw about Christina, her ability to build a team, her ability to work through challenges, her ability to encourage people when they were down. And they all were like, man, what incredible characteristics. If we only would have went out on dates and spent time alone together, just focused on things that we enjoy doing as a couple, I never would have seen those things in her. Wow. And so those are things that I think has been really the strength of our marriages. We love spending time together. We love taking anniversary trips. But one of the things that we do really well is we work well together as a couple. Yeah. Like, we grind and move and build, and we encourage each other. We go after our dreams. And I think that's one of the things that's made our marriage really strong.
That's awesome.
And I think you guys are really good at that too.
Yeah, you guys are.
Like, when one person has a dream, you like.
No, I was going to say,
I mean, that's the heart of co-cult.
Yeah.
When you were talking about couples that don't, when you went through the hardship and you did it well together, we didn't when we had the autism diagnosis. Yeah. And when you were like, oh, they turn on each other. Yeah. At least I did with Carolina, where I saw her as an enemy. Yeah. Because I was like, how are you so okay with the diagnosis? It's like, you're against my son. Yeah. And it wasn't the case, but during that time, she was actually the bigger person in the marriage, because I was broken when she was like carrying all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we figured it out.
Yeah.
And here we are.
You guys are killing the game.
Yeah. You guys are amazing. Well, and one thing I was going to highlight that I love about you guys, and I think it's really important for marriage too, is that when one person has a dream, that the other person, like, if your spouse has a dream that you're like, let's do this, and you help them and you run alongside them. And then when you have a dream, they will do that for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just being selfless too. Another way to, but when you marry,
it's being co-called.
Exactly.
Hey,
yes.
I see what you did there.
You guys have done that so well. I've seen you have dreams.
Yes.
And then you full-fledged, like you are helping her. You are behind her. You are supporting her. What do you need? And him too.
Yeah.
Vice versa. Like you are all in.
Yeah.
And so that is huge to find that in a person, in a relationship.
Yeah.
So then when you go through hard things, you know what I mean? Like they are all in with you.
Yeah. They're all, and that's the thing. It's like, if we get into that mindset that what happens to you happens to me, your wins are my wins, and then your losses become my losses too. And so we work together towards that. And we've seen that in you too, you know, when you go after your music and how Nate's been right there, and you moving to the middle of Clovis, New Mexico, you know, for his dream.
And I went with him.
And you went with him, and you did the best. I remember thinking, how is Christina going to live in a place with no Target nearby?
Oh my
How is that
God.
gonna work
I remember
out?
visiting you guys, and we were like,
this is our first thing that came out of our mouth was, this is Jesus. God has really called them here.
It was the Lord. The people were so sweet and so nice. And
yes.
we met some amazing people there, but it was it was a
I
struggle.
mean, you were leaving
live in that
Orlando
town.
to go to a really small town.
Yeah.
But more than that, you know, just like seeing you guys do that, you know, and working and going after one vision together. And I really feel like I saw you guys really do that and grow together.
I actually think every marriage needs that.
Yeah.
I think you need things to run after together. Yes. I think that's what keeps a marriage exciting, the adventure of something new, climbing a mountain, going after something. I think if maybe your marriage is stuck right now, you're just kind of bored, you've gotten to a rut, everything's comfortable, go after a dream together.
Yeah.
Like go after something in your life that you know you can't accomplish on your own.
That's so
And
good.
I think you'll see something in each other that maybe you lost or missed, and you'll learn to appreciate something in your spouse that you forgot about.
That's
so I think that's huge.
That is so good.
That's
Even
huge.
if it's like, I don't know, like a 5K, a 10K, or like a dance class, like learning something new.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't work together.
Right,
like
right.
picking something
An
that's
eating
like,
contest.
Oh man, Nathan's a foodie. But you know what I mean? Like picking something new to go after, cooking classes, you know.
Yeah.
But just so that you're working towards something together, and it's just like this whole new like side of the person. It's really fun and like frustrating, but then it's like you get to work it out, and like then you're like, oh, we're fine, oh, we're closer, you know, like
absolutely. That's
you guys
solid.
have, it's funny to say, suffered well.
It's true.
My
though.
friend, our friend Jeremy, when we got the diagnosis, he gave me a phrase, and he's like,
he gave us a quote.
What was it? You used it.
Yeah, it basically saying like, you know, in the church we're taught to do all these things that Jesus, you know, to model after Jesus. He said, but one of the things that we're not taught, and yet it's like the biggest lesson that Jesus left us, is to suffer well.
Yeah.
And so that's always stuck with us. And you know, we've seen that in you too.
And your suffering didn't end in Clovis.
Yeah.
Your suffering actually hit you in 2021.
Yeah. It hit us again.
And I know it was a low blow.
I see what you did there.
No pun intended.
But would you mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. By far, this has been the worst year of our life, 2021.
You would not even tell, by the way.
Lots of makeup. So our daughter Harper, the one that was really small, went to the emergency room in February and was admitted to the ICU for almost a week. She was struggling breathing, and just really tough, you know, as we didn't know the outcome. The doctors kind of painted a picture of everything being okay, but at the same time, I could tell there was a lot of concern there. That was exhausting. Her grandpa passed away this year. And then in May, I got this really sharp pain in my abdomen, and I felt in that area, and I felt a mass there. And I went to the doctor thinking it was just normal routine procedure, just going to get some medicine. It went away, and it didn't. And he recommended I go to a specialist, which usually isn't a good thing when you have to see a specialist for anything. And so I went to that first appointment thinking best case scenario, you know, he'll give me some medication, he'll do some type of small procedure, and I'll go about my life. And he said words I never thought I would hear in my life. He said, I think you have cancer. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I couldn't believe he had said those words. I remember I left that appointment and I sat in my car for an hour. I was supposed to go to work, and I just sat there just completely in shock. Like, how is this happening to me?
Yeah.
I didn't like what he said, so I got a second appointment. I was like, this doctor doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go talk to someone else.
That is so Nathan.
So I went and saw another doctor within probably like 4 days, and he looked at the ultrasounds and said, yeah, this is most likely cancer. They can't diagnose it until they biopsy it. It was kind of like when 1,000-pound anvil falls on top of you. What are you going to do?
Right.
And, you know, I'm in my 30s. Every thought goes through your head. Oh my gosh, am I going to die? You know, what about my kids? Like they're going to grow up without a dad. Christine's going to grow up without a husband. It was just like, it almost felt unreal. Yeah. It felt unreal.
Yeah.
And within a week of getting diagnosed, I had emergency surgery where they removed the mass, and it ended up being testicular cancer. And the process of going through something like that, it's really hard to explain unless you walk through it. But it's kind of like climbing a mountain and realizing there's another mountain you have to climb. And then there's another mountain you have to climb. And then there's another mountain you have to climb. Yeah. And it just felt so far beyond me. You know, I'm a pretty driven person. So I'm always like looking for the next thing to conquer, and I'm always moving after something new. And I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Like I struggled to eat. I struggled to do anything. I mean, just the simplest task like sweeping or cutting the grass like felt beyond me. I dealt with so many like emotions, and it's funny. You can take an emotional IQ test to see kind of where you range.
Right.
And there's infant, adolescent, teenager, and adult. And I took this probably 2 years before I got diagnosed with cancer, and I was pretty much an emotional infant on. Like, I don't know how to process emotions. I don't know how to explain how I'm feeling. Like, everything's just I'm angry or frustrated, like no matter what it is. And so I didn't even know how to tell anyone. Christina would ask me, how are you feeling? And I said, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel everything. I feel depressed. I feel afraid. I feel overwhelmed. I feel anxious. I had 2 panic attacks, which I've never had in my life before, where I felt like I couldn't breathe. And like, I felt like I was going to pass out, and I rushed her home. She was at a park, and I was like, you need to come home right now, because I think I'm dying. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack. And it was just kind of, I know it's crazy to say now, but it was so real in the moment.
I believe you.
And I have compassion for people who go through things like that. Because before, I don't think you can really relate to something like that. So you walk through it.
You said that earlier, yeah.
And it was just this process of, for the first time in my life, I had to take it one day at a time. Yeah. Like I couldn't think about the next week or the next month or the next year. I literally was focused on just get out of bed and get through the day. And probably one of the hardest things for me hearing was, you know, I was definitely not myself. Like, I love my kids. I love playing with them. Like, I'm goofy with them, and we'll draw and sing dumb songs and run around the house and chase each other and play these games. Like, they told Christina, they said, what happened to Dad? He's not the same anymore. And that broke my heart as a dad, because it's like, I couldn't even be there for my kids in that season.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to survive it and make it through the day. But I would say one of the things I learned that kind of relates to this topic of marriage is, as men, I think a lot of times it's really hard for us to share how we feel. Like, we're good at, okay, if there's someone who's messing with you, I will punch him in the face. I will fight someone for you. I will protect you, right? Like, I'll go to work and provide for our family. But the emotional side for me was really hard. So there's a lot of times where I had to just tell Christina, as awkward as it was for me, like, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need from you. And I'm a little bit more independent, where I don't like needing people. And for the first time in my life, like, I desperately needed her to give me hugs and to hold my hand and to remind me she was there. Like, not that
hold my hand.
If you're listening with your spouse, hold their hand right now. It was like all these things I had to learn to communicate that before I was just like, I'm fine. I can deal with it on my own.
Right.
And it created this dependency in me of, man, I really need my wife as I walk through the season. And she was phenomenal. Like walking through that season, she was very patient because even though she didn't have cancer, it was like she did. Yeah. Because she had to walk through it just like it was hers. And so that was the hardest thing, like seeing her struggle. I couldn't do anything to help her. I was struggling. I was, struggling to just make it through the day. But I think one of the things that we did really well is we learned to lean on each other. So she would go to doctor's appointments with me and she would pray for me. And I would say, hey, I really need you today to, just kind of cuddle with me and just hold my hand and,
keep
pray
away.
For me.
Yeah.
And
like some days he was just like, I can't. Yeah. Because people were kind. They wanted to bring things and say hi. And
I didn't even know what to do. Like, because in a position of leadership as a pastor, most people kind of expect you to take on their burdens. Right. And so when I tell people, hey, I'm going through cancer, they don't know what to say or what to do. So it's almost like I have to comfort them in the moment.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, I can't do that
right now. It's okay. Don't cry. Yeah. You're not going to die. It's me.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll live forever. Not me.
Carlos.
It's all going down.
Oh man. Well, on that note, you should probably tell everybody that.
Yeah, no, I will.
Yeah.
I will. I mean, I'm still here. So,
sorry, but sorry, people don't know yet. But anyway. I'm assuming people know. That's what I'm joking.
I'm not gonna die. At least not yet. In July,
thank God.
Yes, in June I had surgery. I had a few doctor's appointments. You have to walk through all these process of scans and blood work and testing to make sure it didn't spread in your body. And so we got a call, I think it was July 2nd or July 3rd, I don't remember, from the oncologist after I'd done all my scans. And he called me, and thankfully he didn't drag it out. He got on the phone real quick, and I was like, I love this guy. He said, I got some great news, which is not what I had heard, like the whole process. It was just bad news after bad news after bad news. He said, there's no more cancer in your body. You look, your test came back awesome, which doctors never say.
Right.
And so me and Christina definitely had a moment there on our kitchen table together. It was like
that sounds like I know on our kitchen table.
On the kitchen table.
We were sitting.
That was later. That was later.
Okay.
Do we need to cut that?
No, we love that stuff.
We love that stuff.
Wow. That is amazing.
We broke down.
God.
So 4th of July, you gained your freedom.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it felt. I felt like I got my life back. I felt like I got my life back.
Wow. Praise God.
And so I think it really taught us to appreciate life. I think sometimes you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger. It's like, oh, I got so much life left to live.
Yeah.
I do. But at the same time, I think we just kind of like go through life and not really care and cherish the things that we have, like your relationship with your spouse and your kids. And so I think I have a new perspective on life. It almost feels like I got a second chance at life.
Yeah.
And
you did. Yeah.
I know. And I think we both learned how to fight alongside of each other and learn how to help carry each other's burdens and just unthinkable, unimaginable circumstances, and really kind of do some of the heavy lifting, honestly, because she had walked through some stuff a year before personally, because we've been trying to have a kid for a few years and, that hasn't worked out. And we've struggled with some miscarriage and different things like that, to where sometimes it's not necessarily what you say, but what you pray behind the scenes for your spouse that makes a difference. So I think we fought a lot for each other in our cars and, in our
in the intimacy.
That too. But really in prayer for each other. It wasn't necessarily like I had all these magic words. I mean, what do you say to someone when they have cancer? Yeah. There's no magic words.
Yeah.
But I think we can really support and love our spouse through praying for them and going to God and asking for strength and words. And there was a few times where she came to me and she said, hey, can I share with you what I felt like God told me for you? And it was the thing I needed to hear in that moment. And I think things like that, you learn how to fight for your spouse.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you need to do to really help them carry through something? So I would say if you're in a situation like that in your marriage, like don't neglect God's voice in that season. get into a place where you can hear him, because he might tell you something that turns your spouse's perspective around and gives you strength to keep fighting, because there's a lot of moments you want to quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give up on your faith, give up on your marriage, give up on your kids, give up on your life. And I think it's those moments where you hear God say, you got this, like, keep going. You're going to make it through this.
Amen.
That give you the strength to keep fighting.
Yeah.
And so I would just say, man, keep praying, keep fighting, keep loving your spouse through those seasons. And I don't know if you have anything you want to add, because obviously you're on the other side
Christina,
of it.
yeah, how was it one thing you said right now, that it was like she was going through cancer as well.
Yeah.
And I loved, not that I loved hearing that, but we always talk about how co-called means we're called to one purpose, right? To one thing,
one vision.
And you just basically said you were going through this with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it must have been, I mean,
I would think as a wife it'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen?
Can you share
Yeah.
what you went through?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize I was going to get emotional.
I know. Listen.
You don't have to share if you don't want to, but
I think we're still like decompressing from it, because it like ended in July, like ended, you know, like it was, we could breathe again, but it's still like only like few or 4 months later. So we're still like, I don't know. Is decompress the word? You know what I mean? Processing it all.
Yes. Yeah.
But for me, it was really hard. I mean, it was so hard to see. Like, Nathan is so driven, and he's so independent, and he's so focused, and he's the one that carries everybody pretty much. Like, he just helps so many people, like with his work, outside of work, mentoring, like, and I had been going through depression, hardcore, pretty much depression, and I'm very private. So I wasn't really, I learned the hard way to talk to somebody about it. And like, so he had been carrying me a little bit through that, you know, like a lot, like, so anyway, it was hard to see him like that. I mean, with the panic attacks, and like, he was so scared. I mean, I know no guy likes to hear like their wife say that, but like, you were scared, like, and so to see him like, and then coming through like depression, knowing the signs, like I was like getting scared he was going into that. And then, you know, as a wife, you're like thinking, I had a peace. I did. I prayed about it. I did have a peace, a huge, like, supernatural peace inside, where I was like, everything will be okay. But even though you have that peace, which helps so much, like the Lord is so, he's so good. But you still are on that day to day, and like,
you've got to walk that out now.
Yeah, you still have questions of like, is it going to be okay? You know, but so that like perfect peace from the Lord really helped during those times. But like, just those thoughts of like, what happens if he doesn't make it? Like, and then you don't even want to go there. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like explaining things well, but it was really hard seeing him like that. Right. And I don't know. I go in survival mode. That's who I am. So once again, I'm in survival mode, taking care of him, keeping everybody else away. Not you, Carlos. Carlos is a great friend. He came out to see Nathan, which was, we wouldn't really let anybody see you very much, because it was just really hard.
You didn't want to see me then. I looked pretty rough.
Yeah.
And Carlos is like, I'm going on a flight.
And the last thing you want to do is take care of somebody else.
Right.
Because people are so sweet, but they don't know what to say. And that's fine. But you end up sometimes taking care of their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like, I just kind of
especially
was guard dog.
As a pastor. Right. Yeah. People have this expectation of how you're supposed to be handling it, and you're a pastor, you're supposed to have faith, you're supposed to be fine. You're like, you're supposed to have all this faith, and
you got
like
enough faith. If you, like he's dealing with that too at the same time. That's a whole nother thing. But like anyway, so I was like guard dog, keeping everybody away. But, so I'm in like survival mode, taking care of him, taking care of the girls, making sure they're super distracted. Right. So it was a lot. It was very, very hard. And then I did have, after a while, I don't know if it was weeks or what, but it all was like blur that whole time. But I did break down in front of him, because I was just like, I lost it. Yeah. Not mean towards him or anything, but just like,
why is this happening?
Yeah. And like broke down. And then which I was trying not to do in front of him because he's already dealing with it.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, it brought us closer together to be real with each other.
No, it did.
It did. And I was going to say, like, I think such an important thing, and you guys know this too, is to ask your spouse, if one of them's going through something, you both are, or there's a family issue and you're both, it's a heavy thing, ask that person, what do you need? And keep asking them, because it changes.
Yes, it does.
Sometimes day by day, but week by week for sure. Like, what do you need? So I would try to ask him all the time, like, what do you need right now? I learned that. Like at first, I don't know if I was just kind of like, we were just trying to get a grip on things, but like asking him, what do you need today? What do you need today? Like, and it changed. Sometimes he would be like, can you just lay next to me? Cause he would be in the bed a lot and just like hold my hand.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, so I'm like, okay, you know, and then the next day it was like, can you just tell me like what you really think? What do you really think is going to happen? And be real with me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know, let's go. And then sometimes it would be like, can we go out and just drive around? You know, whatever the case is, but just asking your spouse, what do you need? What can I do for you? And knowing that it will change. It doesn't just stay like, I need this, and that's just what they need in that season. Yeah. When you're going through tough times, it changes. You need to ask them often, you know.
That's so good.
And
that's such a good reminder.
Yeah. And going to the Lord, I mean, like being like sitting, when you're a leader or have that strong personality type, like, it's like you can love Jesus, worship him, like give, tell him how amazing he is and connect in that way. But learning how to receive from him is a whole nother story. So like when you're especially, I mean, that's just that you need that all the time to receive love from him and like hear what he thinks about things. But when you're going through something difficult, it is even more vital. Like I learned that too the hard way, you know, trying to do everything on my own, where eventually like I broke down and so going to the Lord, sitting in his presence, putting on a worship song or getting outside in the silence and just crying. I would journal like, God, what the flip is happening? I'm kind of questioning you today. I'm like, where are you?
Absolutely.
And being real with him and keeping that friendship with him alive. And then when you're bawling your eyes out, like, please let me feel, I need to know that you're here, and just let it loose and cry. That's what I did anyway. And just feeling his presence and his strength and him whispering like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You know what I mean? So like that truck, hey truck, you are there. That's me trying to be funny, guys. But anyway, like that's really important too. If you're a believer, like even if you're not, I encourage you to go there, like, and just start asking God questions, journaling and receiving from him, because we grow up, and you know, I'm just gonna say this real quick. A lot of us, not all of us, but like grow up learning about God as like this intense person that's like, or being that's far away and just kind of watches us and knows what's going on, and like it's hard to connect on a personal level, but he is a father. And when we go through things, he's not mad at us if we didn't have enough faith or if we are questioning him. Like he's a father, and he's saying, you can freak out and try to push me away as much as you want, but I'm never leaving. Like I am here, and I want to comfort you, and I'm sitting next to you, waiting for you to let me like put my arms around you, waiting for you to say, like, to break down in front of me. Like he's a good father. He's not a bad father. He's not a distant father. He's a good father. And that's one thing, like he spoke to me. I was like, God, what the heck? Like losing it. Like, you know, and he was like, but I never left you, and I never will. And I was like, done bawling, you know. And I'm like, you really did never, ever leave me through everything that I've ever went through in my life. And even this hardest thing right now, like your presence never left. I might have left it. Tried to step away from it and I can ignore it. But he's like, I've always been here, and I will never go. No matter if you feel me or you don't. Like I'm here. And I'm not what you thought I was, you know. And anyway, I went off on a tangent, but
no, I love that. That's so good.
Two important things. You know,
it's such a good reminder, because it's one of those things, you know, like you're like, I know that in my head, but then when you're going through it, it's very different to actually walk that out and walk that part of your faith out. I mean, I think it's a reminder everyone needs to hear, no matter where where you are or what you're walking through.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yes.
What a roller coaster. And to say I've been a part of it.
And the ride isn't over, baby.
Yes.
And it's not over.
Yes.
And honestly, we're so excited for what's to come.
Yes.
Everything that's coming from many projects you guys have that
Yeah.
we're not going to share, but I know there's many. And I would like to maybe, if you guys can share how people can get a hold of you, maybe your social media accounts. I know they'll be right there on your screens, but if you could just say for the audio, for the people listening
on podcast.
Podcast. Yeah.
For sure. My IG handle is that how you say it these days? I don't know.
I don't know what are the youth?
I'm just out here.
These days?
Christina, you're so hip.
I'm just out here trying to, just anyway. It's Christina with the CH. Christina .a.x.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you're on YouTube.
I am. I always forget.
I was going to say Christina's actually an incredible worship leader, and actually one of the first people to introduce me to like what true worship is. And we talk about this all the time, but like you really like sitting under Christina's worship was one of the first times where I was like, oh, this is what worship means and looks like. And just some of the most amazing, I mean, she's got some music up that definitely check it out. It's on iTunes and YouTube and Spotify. So definitely check her out. It's really good.
But don't check her out. She's taken.
Yeah. Well, check her music out.
And Carolina P.S. is such a worshiper too. Aww. You're so genuine. I love you. Anyway, okay.
So your YouTube account?
Oh, YouTube.
Christina Arceneaux. We'll put it up. We'll put it up.
Just search her name. She's a great songwriter.
Yes.
It's hard to spell my last name.
Yeah.
So can I spell it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
ARCENEAUX.
Wow.
Yes.
I have to say it like that in like threes. So people catch because
it.
then I can't spell it.
I
forget. I honestly am like, I don't know how to spell my name.
It's very French.
Very French.
Yes.
Oui, oui.
What about you, Mr. Arceneaux?
Instagram, Nathan Arceneaux. And then actually, we are releasing very soon a podcast on men and fatherhood called The Father Focus with me and Carlos is producing and two of our other friends, Jeremy and Jermaine. So that'll be coming out soon. So you can check that out on all podcast platforms as well.
What's the name of it again?
It's called the Father Focus Podcast.
Father Focus
We're talking about dads and being a man and eating meat and all those great things. You know what I mean?
So needed, especially in our times about being a father to this generation.
Yes.
So good.
And I have a book that I'm hoping to release next year. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, stay tuned. So again, thank you so much. It's been great to have Nathan and Christina Arceneaux. I always say Arceneaux. That's how I spell it. Arceneaux here, and they're two beautiful twin girls who made an appearance. But if you like today's podcast, like I said, please subscribe, share, like us. Do all the things.
Send them gifts.
Yes, we love gifts, especially coffee. And then if you're listening to any of your podcast platforms, subscribe, rate us, let us know what you thought of today's podcast. We'd love to share the information with Nathan and Christina. Thank you again for being so vulnerable and sharing the dark times of your life, and also just taking us on this journey with you. I know we just got a little taste of it, but thank you.
It's going to bless. It's going to bless many, and to know that it wasn't wasted. That this will touch somebody else's life. So, all right. Well, until next time, guys.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Co-Called, a podcast for the modern marriage. Find us on Instagram at Co-Called Podcast and share it if you like it.